The fall 2022 anime season is here and it is packed. Almost 50 anime titles that have both myself and many other anime fans just swamped with options of what to watch. I mean, we got zombie chopping angsty teens, gun toting piglet maids, tons and tons and tons of cute cat girls, football squid games, lolly aliens with bowels coming out of their ribbons of their heads. Shoot, Yuri Gundam. We have Yuri Gundam. Hopefully this legend will finally come to an end. We got re-adaptations of 44-year-old manga, shonens rising from their 10-year-old graves, and enough ecchi to make so many sensitive Sony executives cry. But the question is, where does one begin to know what to watch? Well, you're in luck. After watching 2 to 4 episodes of pretty much every show this season, I've compiled my top 10 new anime of the fall 2022 anime season so far, as well as my most excited shows returning for the season. So stay tuned, grab a pen and paper, or an iPad, and take some notes. Also, before you leave, be sure to go down in the comments down below and let me know what you're most excited for, what you're enjoying the most of the fall 2022 anime season. So with all that said, let's jump right into it. Kicking off my top 10 list of new titles of the fall season, I have I'm the Villainess, So I'm Taming the Final Boss. This is a series that honestly very much so surprised me. Coming into it, I just assumed it was going to be another My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. But actually what I got more of was a sense of the world of Otome games is tough for mobs. This idea of this girl suddenly realizing that she is the villainess of an Otome game the moment that the main love interest actually chooses the main protagonist. And she realizes beyond this point, her life is doomed. So she chooses to fight back, and the way that she chooses to do that is to hook up with the Demon Lord. This is the person that's supposed to turn into a dragon and crush her in the final moments of the game. And I'm really loving the chemistry that's kind of developing so far, and the developments that's been happening with the main character, Eileen. Similar to My Next Life as a Villainess, she's kind of a likable character. You kind of root for her because you see that she's being dealt a really bad card. And similar to Otome games is tough for mobs, it's got this sense that the main villainous character pretty much dedicated their whole entire life to the prince. So they have a reason to be angry. But it's been a lot of fun, and honestly, it wasn't until maybe the 3rd episode that the overall story and plot lines around the characters actually got really interesting. This is kind of one of those shows that I reluctantly say, don't give up on it until the 3rd episode. That's when things really start to ramp up. You get the chemistry building, and you get a sense for what Eileen is struggling with, and additionally, yes, how screwed up the prince is. It's enough to get me hooked on the show, and I cannot wait for more of it. And again, it's got a similar feel to Otome game is tough for mobs, and the idea that it's an Otome game that nothing is as it seems. The main love interest of this game is kind of a jerk. And by Eileen seeking out the Demon Lord's help, she's sort of breaking how everything is viewed. I cannot wait for more. I really love the chemistry, and Almond is great. Again, number 10, I'm the Villainess, So I'm Taming the Final Boss. Let's move on to some ecchi. Yes, love flops or Reinai flops. This series, honestly, I am back and forth on. In the purest sense, it is a straight up harem ecchi show, and it doesn't really hold much back. From the get-go, you have the main character gets read a fortune, and there's all these keywords given to him. And what those keywords end up being is somehow related to how he ends up interacting with these different girls. Staircase, it's a girl basically falling down a staircase right into his face. Robot, it's a robot stealing this girl's bra. Dog, yes. Dog. Just dog. I'll just say dog. And so on and so forth. Honestly, when it came to the 2nd episode, I was a little bit let down because it kind of just turned into the typical one guy in a house full of a bunch of girls that want him. But what the 1st episode gave me is a lot of promise as to how they can take this ecchi harem concept and really mess with it. They're obviously being very on the nose with what they are doing. And my hope is that they're going to take that and really evolve it and do some really crazy stuff with it. We sadly don't get many straight up ecchi harem shows anymore, so it's kind of refreshing running to this show, and it looks really good. Passione is doing a fantastic job. These characters look absolutely cute, and I cannot wait for what's coming. So if you're into those types of shows, I'm not going to be the one to judge you. Check out Love Flaps. Moving on, let's go into a special show with my number 8. Yes, Akiba Maid War. This show is absolutely nuts. Think Yakuza and Territory Wars, but replace all the gruffy looking guys with maids. Honestly, this show's 1st episode was easily the best 1st episode of the entire season so far. Having a girl starting her first day at work at this pig-themed maid cafe, but that turning into this war between different sides, and yes, a fully played out violent montage with the effects of a maid performance on a stage was absolutely brilliant. Now, I will admit that episode 2 and episode 3 did not live up to the greatness that the first episode was. I really feel like the third episode is getting back into the groove of things. I still have high expectations for this show, and like I said, by its first episode alone was absolute masterpiece, but we'll see where things go from here. My number 7 is literally the show that screams Andrew. And that is Do It Yourself. This is a series with cute girls basically discovering themselves and learning new things through the crafts of do it yourself. This girl Serafu going to this new school and then eventually getting introduced to the Do It Yourself Club, where they essentially create things themselves. And honestly, as somebody that loves to craft things myself, building my own shelves up here, I really do understand what these characters are really doing and the rewarding feeling they're getting from doing it. Making a shelf yourself rather than going out and buying it. And yes, technically them coming together for this club and the bonds they form from that. And eventually diving into friendships that was once lost. In its purest form, it is one of those slice of lives that really does grab me from both nostalgia and just really understanding what the characters are going through. The difficulties you face and the lessons you learn. And it's just got a really great cast and a really great art style to it that I just cannot get enough of. These characters are so much fun to watch, and I cannot wait to see what they create. So if somehow you're not watching Encouragement Climb, I highly suggest checking out Do It Yourself if you're looking for a really solid slice of life this season. Moving on to my number 6, I have Chainsaw Man. Yes, Chainsaw Man is definitely a series that I've been enjoying so far. I won't say that the first episode had me completely sold on the concept of the show, but episode 2 really did sell me on the possibility of the chemistry and the shenanigans the characters will get into. Honestly, the thing that I found in Chainsaw Man by reading a little bit ahead in the manga was the chemistry of a band of characters that are kind of the misfits of this society. Having some sort of devil blood in them and how the society itself would normally want to hunt them down, but they're using them to fight devils themselves. Fire with fire. And yes, having a bunch of characters that aren't really right in the head. And that's really where I'm getting that chemistry from. Whether it be Denji, who's basically a reject of society to begin with, now having a purpose. Power, who just seeks to destroy things. Makima, who seems like she's just completely manipulating everybody, or Hayakawa, who just seems to be more focused on order. Add to that some fantastic animation and visuals by MAPPA, although I'm still a little bit upset about the CGI usage. It still looks absolutely incredible with all the different shots and the visuals and the backdrops and everything. I just cannot wait for more. It's definitely going to probably be the hype action show of the season. And like I said, having a really great chemistry to really drive it. But yeah, if you somehow did not know about Chainsaw Man, I don't know how you would. Definitely check it out. Moving on to the other shows that people will be angry that is above Chainsaw Man. Sorry, it's my list. First off, we have number 5, which is Bocchi the Rock. This show just really does scream to me. I just absolutely love how this show is portraying the introvert lifestyle and the struggles of trying to get out there and break free from it. Following Hitori, who's really trying to change her life and get out there and socialize with people, and how she's using music to pull that off. But even still, every moment, every step that she somehow manages to make, the falls that happen right afterwards. But of course, the desire to push herself to stand back up and walk once again. Being done by Cloverworks, they're doing a phenomenal job of really presenting this story. All the sound effects, visual style, a lot of the more cartoonish looks they give to some of the scenes, they're really pulling off both the dread, the comedy, and everything else really well. This is definitely one of the shows I was looking forward to the most of this season, and I cannot wait for more of it. So if you're looking for a slice of life that's a little more leaning on comedy, definitely check out Bocchi the Rock. Moving on to my number 4, I absolutely love Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. This series so far has been absolutely fantastic. Really capturing the core of the older Gundams with the concepts of space and politics, but seemingly trying to dig itself into a new modern audience. Yes, a lot of that being to do with Sueta, the main character. I think a lot of people are kind of mixed on Sueta as a main character, but I have really truly fell in love with this character. She has a timid nature to herself. She's a country bumpkin. If you want to call somebody from Mercury a country bumpkin, she doesn't really know how to socialize with people. She's very timid. She has her struggles with communication. And I think so far how they've developed her character and really kind of brought people around her, I think it's fantastic. It's really given me a sense so far that she's going to be the person that really bridges all these characters together to kind of fight back against the old people of this generation. Add in that some fantastic animation from Sunrise, the usual mecha designs and stuff that I've always loved. Even if they are blending in some CGI, they are the premier studio when it comes to actually animating an actual mecha rather than just using a CGI model. I've loved the characters so far. The chemistry's great. All the political intrigue surrounding all these companies that are in control. I just cannot get enough of it, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. A true TV Gundam series that we have not had in a long time. Will it match up to the glory that is Iron-Blooded Orphans? we'll have to wait and see. Moving on to my number 3, this is an absolute shock for me, and that is Raven in the Inner Palace. I really wasn't sure what I was going to think of this show coming into it, and what I ended up finding was absolutely beautifully portrayed story about a Raven consort and an emperor. The concept is that this palace is full of many consorts, but there's one known as the Raven consort, which nobody interacts with. But at some point, this emperor comes in and reclaims his throne before going to this Raven consort to get answers from her. And it kind of turns into almost a mystery, where the Raven consort is trying to figure out what exactly happened with these particular set of earrings. What really fascinated me was how they took this mystery behind these earrings and interwove it with the overall story, which is what this emperor is trying to figure out, which is what happened to his mother. Tying that with the mystery of the Raven consort herself and the previous era of this empire, it all kind of interweaves itself so beautifully and has a gorgeous art style. Oh my gosh. Chisetsu, who is the Raven consort, looks absolutely gorgeous. I cannot say enough about how well they designed her. The mystery and the drama behind everything really does have me hooked, and I just cannot wait for more of this series. Like I said, it's been pretty much the gem of the season for me. One of those ones where I love it, and I know nobody else is going to watch it. But yeah, if you're one of those types that thinks all anime is the same and you're looking for something unique, definitely check out Raven in the Inner Palace. It's definitely a phenomenal series so far, and I really do hope that it has legs on it. Moving on to my number 2, this is easily my fun fantasy show of the season, The Eminence in Shadow. This series has been really fantastic so far. Now, I will admit, it seems like every episode it feels like something different. The first episode you have modern times, second episode you have isekai, build harem, third episode feels like school days and not that school days, and shenanigans with the princess. But overall, the through line of this series has a really fun concept to it. This idea of this person that's a chuuni in modern times who wanted magic, wanted to be a superhero, at some point unfortunately passes away, gets transported to another world where he finally gets the powers that he's looking for, and he can finally be the superhero at night that he wants to be. And the funniest thing that comes from this is almost an overlord style of storytelling, and this idea that this guy believes, has these illusions of grandeur, and he's talking about this evil cult that he completely made up, and how it ends up actually being a real cult. And all the people that he wound up in this lie all end up discovering that it's true and then kind of run with it. Just like Ainz from Overlord, he has this idea that he presents to his people and then they run off with it, and he kind of sort of agrees with it because he wants to continue looking cool. Now, I felt a little bit disappointed in the third episode because they kind of pull that away from the story. I really do look forward to when all that kind of stuff wraps him back into it. My only misgiving that I really have with the series so far is that Sid, when he's in actual combat being overpowered, it's not very interesting or entertaining, but everything outside of that's really gold. Sid's reaction to different situations is just always a comedic beat that I really do enjoy. And yes, lots and lots and lots and lots of animal girls and elf girls. I love all the character designs in this show so far. I just wish that we'd had them more on the screen. But yeah, if you really enjoy Overlord, give it a shot. It's not completely Overlord for sure, but it's got that feel in it. But it's been a fun little ride so far. Definitely a unique take on the isekais than you typically get. And that all brings us to number 1. My number 1 pick for the fall 2022 anime season so far is Bibliophile Princess. Yes, this series absolutely shocked me. To be fair, this is a show that you have to watch 2 episodes of to really get a sense of what the storyteller's looking to do. I kind of wish that it had a 1-hour-long episode to start things out, because everything that's kind of presented in the first episode that sort of seems like the mundane life of this bookworm all makes sense in the second episode as it comes to a climactic end. It essentially follows an Eliana Bernstein, who is a girl that's part of this noble family, and at some point she's approached by the prince of this kingdom, and he offers to her to be at his side, allow her to read the books that she wants to, but basically be engaged. And why he wants this is because she's from a noble family that's not really well known, or a family that hasn't really joined any factions within the noble families. So she's the perfect candidate in basically a society of people being at each other's throat for their own gain. And in return, she's allowed to continue to read her books, but additionally, he's giving her access to the imperial library that she would love to have access to. So she goes along with it, the entire time thinking that she's his phony fiance and that it'll never amount to anything. The moment that he finds that one that he actually loves, he'll discard her and she'll move on with her life. And like I said before, it kind of shows how Eliana is going about her days. She's enjoying her books. She's not really bothering the prince. The prince can barely ever get a word out of her because she's so absorbed in her books. That's just kind of how she is, and it's kind of what the Bernstein family is all about. They're bookworms. They take books over meals. But this all leads to this really bigger picture when at some point Eliana discovers that Christopher seemingly seems like he has a new love interest. And so at this point, Eliana believes that she's going to be discarded. And as I said before, this all leads up into a really phenomenal climax in the second episode that I absolutely was floored by. I was in tears. I was emotional. Every bit of it just had me going. I wasn't expecting it. I honestly thought this was going to be a throwaway show. I did hear some words here and there that Bibliophile Princess in general, the source material, is fantastic, but I really wasn't expecting myself to be that invested in what happened. And to be truthful, we don't get romance anime ever. And to finally have something that I really feel is doing romance right is truly a treasure. Most are either comedies or ecchi or harems or something else. But Bibliophile Princess in its truest form is a romance, and they're pulling it off so well. I highly recommend checking out this series. Like I said, at least give it 2 full episodes. And if you don't enjoy it at that point, that's fine. But I really think it deserves some attention. And I hope it doesn't just get lost, just like Raven in the Inner Palace, because it's the not typical anime that everybody really wants. And that's it. That's my top 10 new anime of the fall 2022 anime season. My honorable mentions would be Management of a Novice Alchemist. This is a series that I honestly was not even expecting much out of, but it was really cute. This idea of this girl becoming an alchemist and getting a shop in this out in the sticks village, and it kind of gives a good sense of this idea of this girl that's never really interacted with many people now having to interact with a village that's really opening their arms to her. Immoral Guild has been a lot of fun. Yes, it's a full-on ecchi show, and it's going pretty far with the ecchi. Unfortunately, nobody has licensed it, and I kind of understand why. Again, Sony. And finally, Blue Lock. Yes, Squid Game football. It's got its ups and downs so far with the first 2 episodes, but I have been enjoying it, and it does have some promise in there. Although I think a lot of the bigger picture about what exactly they're doing and all that kind of stuff, it loses me. For Re-Adaptations, there's only one to really point out here, and yes, that is Urusei Yatsura. I am absolutely loving this show. It's just pure nostalgia for me. Yes, it's technically like over 40 years old at this point, but I think David Productions is doing a phenomenal job of modernizing it. Even though they're not really changing the humor to match a more modern audience, I think most people wouldn't really want that. But if you're more into the older style of comedy and stuff, definitely check it out. Just for the newer folks, be aware that it's like over 40 years old, so the comedy isn't going to be any of your modern stuff. But yeah, I'm loving it. I cannot wait each week for each episode. It's a nostalgia trip for me. And getting into returning shows, yes, I am absolutely loving Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War. This new adaptation has been phenomenal. The quality is jumping, the violence is jumping, everything is just jumping, even my heart. I am absolutely loving Bleach. I had to actually flip through the manga again just to kind of acquaint myself with the characters and everything that's happened so far. But yes, these first 2 episodes have been absolutely breathtaking. There was some use of CGI for the hollows, which I was a little bit hurt by, but everything else outside of that has been great. I think the highest praise that I have for the show is it easily has one of my favorite shonen protagonists ever in Ichigo. Ichigo is such a great character, and the idea that he's such a no-nonsense kind of person. If some guy is standing on his bed claiming that he's the next big bad guy, all he says is, "Get off my bed, dude." Like, he just doesn't care. He's like, well, okay, let's get this over with. Let's get this done with. This happens every week. Let's get this over with. But like I said, things are really ramping up. It's more violent than it ever has been. So it doesn't look like Disney licensing it has affected it at all. It does have me a little bit worried about what's going to happen to my favorite characters that I've spent so much time with. But at the same time, we'll see. For next one is Encouragement of Climb. I absolutely love these girls so much. They're like my children that I want to see smile and succeed. Every single episode that I've ever watched the series, I've absolutely loved. Next Summit, unfortunately, is recapping the whole story before it actually gets into the new stuff with like its 5th episode, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm rewatching it because I just love it that much. If you like just watching girls succeed at something and discovering something new, look no further than this series. And yes, if you really badly don't want to watch the old seasons, you can jump right into this new season and get recapped everything. Spy X Family is as great as ever. Anya is precious. Yor is fantastic. Lloyd is a dork. But that's all I can say about Lloyd. He's just oblivious. But it's been great. We kind of just took off with the season, just going right into some crazy action. It has been a lot of fun. I always kind of treasure this family, and I enjoy the shenanigans they go through. And Anya makes it. And I think the addition of the new dog has been really great for the chemistry. And I just can't wait for more. And it looks like this next episode, they're going to get into Yor, which is fantastic because it seems like she gets the least action out of the whole show. Love Alternative, screw that show. Just screw that show. I'm still watching it, but screw that show. I really do love Love Alternative. I've enjoyed the first part. I'm enjoying this second season or second part. I don't know what they're calling it now. It's really starting to get unsettling to watch, but that's kind of what I was expecting with a Love show like this. So we'll see where it goes from here. Other than that, yes, I'm still watching Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out, Peter Grill, Super Extra, which is just stupid. And yes, My Hero Academia Season 6, I don't know, it's getting better. My Hero Academia is kind of reworking its way into my heart after me kind of running cold on it for quite a while, but we'll see if this season really does ramp it up for me. And that's it. That's all I'm going to go over for this fall 2022 anime season so far. I've been really enjoying this season so far. It's been fantastic. Some really great titles, some epic returns. It's going to be a swamped season this season. So I hope you guys will join me for that. If you're not already, make sure that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you enjoy this content and you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody that considers, and y'all take care.